Well, good morning to anybody who may be here. I'll have a short chat before I get on with my work. I'm behind a little bit. I have to be careful. I think one has to be careful, of course, in today's Britain about what you say. And, we've been threatened with imprisonment for saying the wrong thing or saying something that can be classified as hate speech, or saying something perhaps that somebody takes offence to and reports. That can lead to a prison term. We're talking of sentences of up to 3 years that I've read. I don't know how true it is, but it certainly makes me very wary of expressing my views, because I just don't know what people might think. But I think as long as I quote the Holy Bible, as long as one quotes the Bible, surely you can't be condemned for that in your own home. But if you're putting it on the internet, the Bible is the law. I think a court couldn't really condemn you for it. And the Bible says in Leviticus 24, verse 22, ye shall have one manner of law, as well for the stranger that lives in your midst, as for the people of your country. I think that's what it says. I might have made a mistake, but more or less. And, so I don't have any particular, I don't feel as though I have any particular prejudice against any race. I think everybody's entitled to walk on the surface, on the face of God's green earth. I do like the idea of, countries having recognizable populations, because there's the instruction to not remove the ancient landmark. So, we're all entitled to our lands, whichever race you may be. But the law, the Bible tells us that we must have one manner of law, and the law is the Bible in England. So if you don't follow the Bible, or you don't revere the Bible, England might not be the place for you. Now, of course, a man and a woman is entitled to believe what they believe. And I think it would be quite unbiblical to try to get people to pass some sort of religious test or something like that. Your thoughts, your mind is a private place. The way that our home is our castle, the thoughts in your mind are yours. Because if we start trying to align with the same belief, then most of my Jacobite brethren would be at odds with one another, because we all believe the Bible slightly differently. That's become clear. I see the most contemptible, really, insults being traded on Facebook sometimes under religious groups, when people start arguing about things like once saved, always saved, or when the tribulation is going to happen. I don't know. There are so many different arguments, and Catholicism as well, which I dislike. So certain things are really best kept to yourself, I think. And if a Muslim wants to live in England and retain his or her Muslim faith, they can do that, but they have to keep it private, you see, because otherwise it becomes kind of insurrection, because you're speaking against the law, which also says thou shalt have one God and no other gods before thee. That's a very central theme of the Holy Bible. But it doesn't exclude atheists, I don't believe, as long as they keep their atheism a private matter. If they try to spread atheism, then they are spreading dissent in the realm, and so they must be removed. Now, whether that removal involves capital punishment, I mean, it did in the Old Testament, of course. You couldn't openly praise another god because it's forbidden, and on pain of death, I believe. People were stoned to death because it was understood that that would bring heavenly judgment upon the camp to allow such things to go unaddressed. So it was in protection of all the people. You could say it's not a spiteful thing or even a formal thing. It's the fear of God. Now, whether we have that ability this day, I'm doubtful, because of course Jesus Christ gave us many instructions, and the 70 times 7 forgiveness, and releasing the adulterous woman, because nobody really could judge her without condemning himself. So we have all these teachings that we must contemplate in reapplication of the death penalty, as has been proposed, and there's good reasons for it. Not that anybody is proposing that people be put to death for not believing in God. That's just not the way it is. But in the Old Testament and in the olden days, there was one manner, there was to be one manner of law. That's very important. You see, it's not really about belief, it's about law. And the Bible is the ultimate authority in the matter of law. Not today. People don't understand it, but it will be soon. I'm very confident of that, because Jesus Christ is coming back in the flesh also, but also in the form of truth being spoken in high places. This is a sign, this is an emblem of Jesus Christ. So that's going to happen, I guess. And, I am an ethno-nationalist. I think it's just biology. I see Rupert Lowe has spoken against it, and actually disparagingly. But ethno-nationalism is just a fact. You can like it or lump it. But, my mother and father were English, my grandparents were English, my great-grandparents were English. And so my issue is English, that which cometh out from my loins. Because nationality comes from the father. So that was even having married a stranger, which again is forbidden in the Bible. The issue will be English with an English father. That's how bloodlines work, as far as I understand them. You can't speak against biology. It's just biology. That's what it is. That's just how it is. If you're English, you're English. If you're Scottish, you're Scottish. So it is. But the stranger can live in our midst. Always did. There's no problem. We just look at conduct and, behavior. If people are well behaved, then, I guess there's no problem really. But behavior is dependent on the law, which in this country has now been completely overtaken by this two-tier business, which is quite heinous, really. Equality under the law is an absolute foundational principle. Without equality, the law immediately becomes arbitrary, and this is what we've seen. But, it comes down to the king as well. We have a king who is not a believer by his own words. And the crown is represented in the courts, the crown prosecution. But if the crown has fallen, maybe that was the genesis of it all. But it's coming back. I'm confident of that, and I'm just saying that I'm being careful, more careful really than in the past about what I say. But I think if it's, supported biblically, solidly, I doubt that I can be accused of any kind of crime. Lord knows, perhaps that day will come, but not today, I believe. God bless this morning.